Hello friends, my name is Marina and this is Rapunzel Fiber Arts. Today we are working with a different fleece than the one we've been working on. We are working with this Gotland BFL cross fleece. So what that means with sheep breeds, because this is a sheep's fleece, is that one of the parents was a Blue Faced Leicester or BFL, and the other parent was a Gotland, which is another breed of sheep. So it creates this fleece that has these really, really gorgeous curlicue lock tips. And one of the other things about this fleece is that it's part of a spin a pound, get a pound trade. If you're not familiar, there's a group on Facebook called Spin a Pound, Get a Pound, where you do what it sounds like. There's a shepherd and a spinner, and they have a trade where the shepherd sends a fleece out to the spinner. The spinner keeps half of it for themselves, spins half of it for the shepherd, who either doesn't know how to spin or doesn't have the time to spin all the fleeces that they have, and then they can either sell it at like a farm stand or use it for their own projects. So this shepherdess really likes lock spun yarns, which are a little bit tricky, but not once you kind of get the hang of it. And what you typically do is you fluff up these locks and then spin from that. But because this fleece has a ton of vegetable matter in it, you can really see there all those little pieces of hay and grass and debris that are throughout this fleece. Makes it pretty tricky to work with. I tried combing it and that didn't work well for me because the locks have a little bit of felting in them. It's not a ton, but you see how much effort it took to pull this lock out of that chunk of fleece. That's because this area down here is pretty felted. The tip is lovely, and you can see above my fingers here, there's no vegetable matter. But below them, there's plenty. So what I've been doing is taking this basic pet grooming brush, which I think I got at like a Petco or some similar pet supply store. And I take my lock and I find the spot where the lock goes from being pretty nice and VM free to being a little bit more matted with pieces of VM throughout. So I find that spot, I take it and add some twist like that so that these fibers aren't going to pull apart on me. If you don't do this and you start flicking the lock, which I'll show you how to do in a sec, you can lose a lot of usable fiber. But what you do after you do that twist is you take it and run it through the brush, just trying to break up that kind of felted, kind of VM-y section. And this takes a bit of work, as does a lot of fiber prep, especially with a fleece that has as much VM as this. But believe me, this fleece is worth it. So now I've got a little chunk of felted or tangled bits that I'm trying to work out. But once I do that, this will be done. And there it comes. All right. Pull out a big piece of VM that I see. And there you have it. So you see we've got a nice little shiny curlicue, and then we've got this fluffed open fiber. And what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll spin a handful of clumps like this. Here, I'll show you, because I already prepared some. I'll take a handful like this and I'll start spinning. I'm just going to do this with my fingers as best I can. And you see how those locks are getting incorporated so that they're kind of adding some texture to the yarn. That's exactly what I'm trying to create. And if these were all dense, compact locks, this would be much harder to do because fluffing open those ends really opens up the fibers that they can wrap around each other and create a really good, solid yarn. Like, this is strong. This isn't going anywhere. And that's just kind of the natural magic of wool, is that once you incorporate a little bit of twist, you've got something really strong. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna work on taking our little dog brush and picking apart locks so that they will be spinnable into something like this. And then we will take a big handful and fill a bobbin, but that's probably going to be the next video. I think today's video is just working on opening up these locks so that they can be spun into a nice yarn like this. All right, friends, so here I am just gently flicking apart the locks using this dog brush that I picked up at just any pet store. This process does take a bit of time, but it is worth it. The trick is doing small sections of lock at a time, just really, really a little bit at a time, because if you have too big of a handful, it can get unwieldy pretty quick. So take small sections of lock, flick them open, getting all the VM out, and then put them into the bucket with the rest of the finished stuff so that you have some to work from. All right, friends, so something else I'm noticing as I'm flicking these locks with my brush is that this lower part of the lock seems to be coming off. This is not unusual. Sometimes sheep either get sick or aren't feeling well in some other way or have a nutritional imbalance, but sometimes there can be something called a break in the lock, where the lock just kind of comes apart in a certain spot. It can also be weak throughout. This is not that, because if you tug on it, it's not coming apart. But I think this bottom bit does have a little bit of a break, because you see I pulled off these ends. And when I flick it, those ends come off as well. I can't do it for this one because I've already pulled off the ends, but well, there's still a little bit coming off. So this was the broken end, and this is the remnant. So this is just kind of a high maintenance fleece. Sometimes that happens. I think this fleece is worth it, especially with these pretty colors I dyed it. That's why I dyed it before I processed and spun it, because I wanted to be able to enjoy the process of spinning it. And if this was all natural and I had, you know, over a pound that I have to process, it would be much less pleasant than the purple and the blue and the green that I've dyed up. I don't think I've shown you the blue and the green yet this video. If you would like to see that, it is in the video about my dye day that is one of my early videos, so you can check that out. It'll also be the first one in the playlist about this fleece. So yeah, I'm gonna just keep working away at this, keep removing this vegetable matter or VM and those tender ends, and I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm just going to keep flicking out one end of the lock until all of the VM and the broken end is gone. So that's the nice stuff, and you can see on my brush some pieces of vegetable matter and some of the broken ends. And so that's what we're doing. Alright friends, so as I work with this fleece, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what as a hand spinner you should be working with. And the answer to that is whatever you want. If you don't want to put in this effort of processing fleece that takes a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of kind of fiddly processes that not everybody is going to, find appealing, then don't do it. Find what works for you. If you want to work from primarily dyed processed wool, then do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. I enjoy working from fleece, so I want to share how I do that with you here, but that is not something that you personally also need to do. All right, friends, here we have our product of the day, which is not a ton, but I think it was a lot of work, and I'm still very proud of what we've done. So this handful will be perfect for Lockspun yarn. It's a little more work than if it was nice clean fleece, but I think it's going to be a beautiful product regardless, and I hope the shepherdess is happy with it. We probably have about 50% waste between the before and the after. But that's the nature of the fleece that I'm working with. It's going to have a lot of waste because it has that little bit of felting and a whole lot of VM. So it's a labor-intensive process, but I think you can tell that the finished product is going to be absolutely gorgeous when this yarn is all spun up. So I'm going to keep working. I need a little bit of a break. My pinching fingers are getting tired. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then I'll get back to it, and then you will next see this project in a spinning video. So that'll be fun. I hope that you learned a little bit about how to work with a tricky fleece. This is definitely a tricky fleece. Between the vegetable matter and the felting and the way that I need to prep it for lockspun or for lock spinning. It's definitely tricky, but we found a way to work with it, which makes me happy. So I hope you're happy. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you get some great crafting in, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, friends.